Welcome to Like Mother Like Murder, your favorite true crime momcast. I am Rachel.
And I am Heather, and we cover missing moms, murdered moms, moms who commit the crime, survivors, and much, much more.
Yes, we do. We are going to get right into it. And once we are done with the case, we will have a moment for some afterthoughts, which is kind of where we stand on what we talk about for the day. And then we will have some mom talk before we sign off. So let's get into it. Headlines went wild this past week as a woman was exonerated after 2 decades behind bars. She's free after 22 years in prison for a crime she didn't commit. ICE says she can stay for now. Here is the story behind Carmen Mejia, who was sentenced to life in prison in 2005, yet she just walked free mid-March 2026. I love seeing you nod because you know it, because you see it. It's been everywhere. And as soon as I saw it, I said, this we need to discuss immediately.
For sure.
Back in 2003, Carmen Mejia was a mother of 4. And on July 28th, she was home with her 4 children, and she was babysitting a 10-month-old. I am not going to say his name, but I will use his initials and call him Baby AC. Carmen was nursing her youngest, while her oldest daughter decided that she wanted to run a bath for Baby AC. When she put him in the water, tragedy took place. Within seconds of touching the water, Baby AC suffered 3rd-degree burns. Even being rushed to the hospital and treated, he died in the hospital from complications from the burn injuries. And on that very same day, Carmen Mejia was arrested and charged with felony murder, injury to a child, and injury to a child by omission. According to the Innocence Project website, Carmen Mejia's wrongful conviction was because of invalid medical testimony and lost testimony supporting Mejia's account of the incident. Carmen Mejia stood on her innocence from the moment this heartbreakingly took place. And that wasn't only according to her. Her children corroborated her innocence. The house they were living in at the time was a rental, and the water heater in this rental did not have the standard safety features. So the bathwater was able to reach 147.8 degrees Fahrenheit, hence the burns so quickly to Baby AC. I wanted to know a little more because, of course, that sounds really hot. But I want to know like the normal temperature and all of that. So what I found is that it ranges from 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit to 104, which is 37 to 40 degrees Celsius for everyone else listening, for a typical hot bath. Now, for a hot tub, the most ideal temperature is 100 to 102. I thought that would have been even hotter, but it's not. It's still right in that range, stating in the article that I read that if you want to stay, or not if you want to stay under 104 degrees Fahrenheit to avoid overheating or cardiovascular strain. Okay? Then I went a little bit deeper. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So the water in the bathtub that this 10-month-old Baby AC was placed into was right in the middle of hot tub, which is already a no-no for children under 5, and boiling water. And instead of seeing this for the tragic accident that it was, Carmen Mejia was arrested for murder. Now, heading into her trial, so many things are wrong instantly for this mother of 4. No burn expert was called to testify. And 2 professionals, a medical doctor and a retired law enforcement investigator, they did testify from the prosecution side, said that the baby could have only received the severity of the injuries causing death if an adult intentionally held the baby under the hot water. As part of the initial investigation, Carmen's children, who were in the home at the time, were interviewed after the incident. They were young. They were all under the age of 8. She was breastfeeding the youngest one at the time, so the other three were older. They all gave their statements supporting what Carmen said happened, and the interviews were recorded. But apparently, these recordings, these important vital investigation materials with key information, just disappeared before the jury would have been able to hear them. And you know what else was presented? The state showed that there's no evidence of prior mistreatment or violence or anything, no criminal history whatsoever on Carmen's end. So they have the facts of this sweet 10-month-old baby losing his life in a truly tragic way. But based on the rest, I find it completely bizarre for me to be telling you that the jury found her guilty of murder and injury to a child and being sentenced to life in prison.
I have so many thoughts about this, and obviously we'll get into it in the afterthoughts, but my whole brain is just thinking this is someone's worst nightmare.
Absolutely.
This is so tragic. But at the same time, it's murder, and she gets sentenced, or she gets convicted and sentenced with so little evidence pointing to murder. Yet we have seen people who have so much evidence that do point to murder that walk away.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just so
It's
frustrating.
crazy. Yeah, it is. So back in 2005, when Carmen Mejia was in court for baby AC's death, many people believed in her innocence. But one that is important to where we are today is Art Guerrero, who was the courtroom bailiff during Carmen's trial. He states that he always believed in Carmen's innocence, and he was the one who contacted the Innocence Project, the district attorney's office, and another judge, telling them that they need to re-examine Carmen Mejia's case. Here is the quote from the website. And you guys, I'm just going to start by saying this. This is a quote-heavy episode right now. I am going to be saying a lot from a bunch of different people. And if you've listened to this podcast in the past, I just cry when I read quotes. I cry a lot when I read quotes. So as I was putting this together, just know the tears were flowing in certain situations. So that might happen again. Just giving you a little forewarning. Here's the quote from the website. From the time that you were taken from this place to prison, you were not forgotten. You were not forgotten. There was somebody thinking about you the whole time and just trying to figure out what to do and how to do it, Mr. Guerrero said, addressing Ms. Mejia at her exoneration hearing. The Innocence Project stepped into Carmen Mejia's case in 2021, and that's when everything started to change. Because what was once called a crime was actually, as we know, a tragedy that has been misunderstood for decades. As they reinvestigated, something unbelievable happened. You see, when Carmen was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, her kids were taken, and they were put in a closed adoption. Her children actually tried finding their mother, even going as far as hiring a private investigator. But the searches were never successful. When the Innocence Project took her case, the children is one of the first places they started. Because remember, they were there. They even gave that testimony of their mother's innocence, which was clear didn't matter to some people until now. After years of investigating, in 2024, the Innocence Project filed to challenge her conviction, and the truth started coming out. So I know I addressed the water heater quickly earlier, but one expert comes in and basically says, look, this home didn't even have the basic safety features on the water heater, which is actually really common in older houses. And because of that, water can get dangerously hot really, really fast, like in seconds, especially for kids. Then you have a burn surgeon who finally shows up, right? They were called, who explains that there is no medical evidence that this had to be intentional, which completely goes against what the jury was told back in 2005. Because remember, they didn't have a surgeon back in 2005 or a burn expert back then. And then this part, which to me is the most telling of it all, one of Carmen's daughters takes the stand and shares what she remembers of that day, including the fact that she turned on the water herself to get the bath ready for baby AC. The death of baby AC was so sad. It is still so sad to think about. Yeah. And obviously, I wish I could sit here and tell you things like this don't happen and that these accidents are rare or uncommon, but they're not. A quick Google search on how many children died from hot, scalding water incidents gave me this information. According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, approximately 3,800 injuries and 34 deaths occur in homes each year due to hot water incidents. So this is heartbreaking for baby AC, for baby AC's family, and it's heartbreaking for Carmen Mejia, who, without a doubt, pled her innocence and had to live for over 22 years in prison, knowing that she did not hurt this baby like they claimed. The original medical examiner from Carmen Mejia's case is actually the one who reversed her ruling. What was ruled a homicide in 2005, she says should have been ruled an accident. You can't take away the years that were taken from Carmen Mejia, but you can do what's right. And that's what this exoneration was, overturning that guilty verdict. Here is a quote from Judge Wahlberg. Quote, "There's nothing that I can say at this point that will bring back those 23 years. Signing this piece of paper won't bring it back. There is no amount of money that will ever compensate you for losing the best years of your life. I wish I had the power. What I can do is say to you that there is a reason to hope and believe that your future will be better every day from now on, and I pray that it is so." End quote. Carmen Mejia's daughters took the stand at her exoneration hearing. All three of them gave speeches, and they're all incredible. And I am not going to read all three of them, okay? I want to make that very clear. But I am going to share just a part from one of them. Quote, "For more than 20 years, I never had the chance to talk with my mother about the things daughters normally share with their mothers. Asking for advice or simply feeling a mother's unconditional love. I hope that I can finally build a real relationship with her. I want her to meet my partner and his family. I want to spend holidays together. Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays, and even simple moments like cooking dinner and sharing a meal. Something that may sound small to others, but means everything to me, is knowing what it will feel like to hug my mother for the first time." We're just going to all take a moment. We're going to go from emotional to angry right now. And just when you think this is the moment she walks free, it's not. Carmen Mejia was not able to be released because of an immigration hold. One that only exists because of a conviction that obviously now you know never should have happened. Carmen Mejia came to the U.S. from Honduras in 1995. According to things that I've read, she escaped abuse. She was able to come here, build a life, and was raising her 4 children who were all U.S. citizens. She was granted temporary protected status based on Honduras's unsafe conditions and obtained lawful work authorization, which she had successfully maintained and renewed every year up until the moment of her arrest. She did everything right. And after 23 years of fighting to prove her innocence, she then was facing another form of detention. After her exoneration on March 9th, ICE put a detainer on her And then they had 48 hours to decide freedom or to be locked up once again. And so the judge didn't stay silent on this. It was made very clear when this all happened, she had legal status. She had no criminal history. She spent over 2 decades in prison for something that wasn't even a crime. She's not a flight risk. She has nowhere to go. And another quote addressing all of this. Miss Mejia was able to survive over 2 decades in prison, fueled by the hope of one day reuniting with her children. It would be the ultimate injustice for her to prevail against all odds, finally proving her innocence. And rather than walk free, be transferred to another form of incarceration. ICE has discretion to not hold her and allow her to reunite with her family. Time will tell if they do so. After the 48 hours were up, ICE, along with the Department of Homeland Security, reviewed all the information, and the detainer was lifted. And Carmen Mejia walked as the free citizen she is and deserves to be. Quote, "We wish Miss Mejia and her family the best in her new chapter. We will never be able to give her back the lost years, but we are grateful to the Innocence Project, our conviction what are words? But we are grateful to the Innocence Project, our Conviction Integrity Unit, Mr. Art Guerrero, Congressman Greg Kasser, and all who contributed to making sure our office could fulfill its promise to seek justice and right this wrong." Today, Carmen Mejia walks free and is given the opportunity to build with her family, live her life. And I hope that life is nothing but beautiful moving forward.
Holy crap. So, like you said, this case, this story has been out a lot recently. And I have read the headlines, I've read little blurbs, but I didn't know all of the details to it. Obviously, like we're both very emotional about everything in this episode. We just like spent the first 20 minutes crying.
I know it's been a while
everything.
since we've just cried the entire episode, but that just happened.
I think it just, we're empaths. We feel it on so many levels and for so many people in this. And it's like, the family of baby AC and her and Carmen's family, and just like the daughters who are now full adults, you know what I mean? And having to navigate and they were old enough at the time to like be like, they remember who their mom was. And then having to like try to find her after all of that. And then, and knowing that like she shouldn't even be there, Right. So, and then I can't even imagine going through decades of incarceration, knowing your innocence, and then with the prospect of, oh my gosh, it's finally happened, just for that rug to be yanked out from underneath you. I can't even imagine anything more heartbreaking and scary and tragic. Like this story, just from every angle, is just, why did you pick such a heartbreaking one, Rachel? Well, I know why, because it's important that we talk about these things. I do know why, but also like Rachel, I wasn't prepared to cry so much.
I know. Morning. I really wasn't either. And I had actually been working on, this was the one I didn't plan on doing like right now. And I was working on a different one for however long and just could not finalize it because like I said, and like you just said, this is everywhere. You see all these, this just happened 2 weeks ago of, every headline reading, woman exonerated, but will she walk free, or whatever these headlines are saying. And it's like, what are you absolutely talking about right now? Like, why are we even put in the position to feel these things? Why can't everything just be happy sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is so very clear based on what was said and told that this was the saddest of accidents. And
Yeah.
accidents happen, and when they lead to a death, it is tragic.
Mm-hmm.
What's more tragic, or not more tragic than the death of a child, but what is also tragic is taking a mother from her 4 children in a moment like this. And based on what?
Right.
So
Based on stupidity. I mean, and that's the thing, is I don't know much about the trial outside of what you explained in the episode, but they never should have been able to convict, because like her defense, I don't know if it was a public defender, I don't know what the deal was, but the defense, it should have been pretty straightforward to mount that none of this is evidence. And they should have and I don't know, maybe they did. I don't know the ins and outs of the trial, but it should have been as quick as file to dismiss this fucking case for lack of evidence. There's zero in this, you know? And it is crazy to me that and this is again where there's just always so much politics and so much back and forth between police and medical examiners and prosecution, which they understandably, these entities have to work together because that they're all on the same crime. But why did the medical examiner write homicide and then go back and switch it? Why did you do that? Were you pressured at the beginning to write homicide by someone? Cops, whoever the fuck?
Yeah.
Because now that you're changing it, based on what? What are you changing it on? Did you run more tests and get more evidence? No, you didn't. It's the same shit. And so it really just, that kind of thing just really pisses me off, because it really is just indicative of the issues we have with how that part of the thing works. And we've seen it before, where police who have no business doing this will pressure, the medical examiner, will pressure the forensics, those need to be completely separate. Yeah. They need to be completely impartial. And we know, I mean, I've seen it. We covered it a bit when I talked about DNA, where these things, in some places, they are in the same freaking, basically in the same freaking office. There's no way. And just hearing that the medical examiner had written it and then decided to change it later because what.
Well, and I mean, I don't fully know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that at all. Yes, it could have been different people talking, persuasion, so many things, but it also could have been years of learning. And this was almost 23 years ago.
Yeah.
And so 23 years of learning, you're still obviously still in this field, still in this position. You see so many other things.
Yeah.
So if you're able to continue on this career path and then stand up and say, you know what? I made a fucking mistake.
Thank God, right?
I did the wrong thing and I need to right my wrong. I am thankful
100%
for that, because when I was reading, I was like, do I even agree that you're even having anything to do with this case in the first place? Can we get a new one, anyone else new on this to come in and speak? But at the same time, I do find beauty in people who own up.
Yes.
Did it take too long? Absolutely. 100 billion, 1,000, gazillion %.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. And thank goodness, because it is obviously a lot more telling when the person who initially said it speaks up and says, I made a mistake, versus, you know, a new person who comes in and has maybe like, you know, a different opinion or a different conclusion, right? I mean, we see this all the time in trials where, you know, defense has an expert and prosecution has an expert and they say two different things. So yeah, when one person can literally say, no, I messed up, that is really important. But also I think too, like you said, is it only because the Innocence Project came back to you and said like, hey, can you take another look at this? Like, you know, and you're right. Like maybe this person learned something over the 20 years. I mean, I would hope that these people learn and grow as they're in their positions, you know, for decades. But at the same time, you know, it really makes me wonder, even without having written homicide on there, like it's just, I don't know. There's just so much. I feel like that they were like, just, there was a vendetta, it felt like, against this innocent woman. For what reason?
Yeah.
For what freaking reason?
I don't even know if I talked about this in the episode, but, you know, this is a Texas case too. And we see that, you know, Texas is a go big or go home. And I mean, I'm thankful she wasn't given a death sentence based on this, because that could have also been something. So maybe someone somewhere down the line was like, well, could have been different, you know, thinking that this was the lighter of the sentencings, which is not true based on the fact that she's innocent, duh. But yeah, I don't know, y'all. I'm sorry, I was blabbering crybaby just now. But
I know both of us were.
I think about her. I think I read that she's like 54 right now. I truly just hope she lives to be like the oldest woman,
I know,
to survive and live the longest life ever with her children, and just.
And I hope she gets a shit ton of money, and she gets to live however she wants to live. Yeah. And she just, and not that money will make up for anything, but it will definitely make life easier. Because, like, I mean, I think you put a quote. Those are your working years. Those are when you spend time with your family. Those are when you build that's when you're really an adult, you know, like you can't count your 20s. It's adulthood, right? No. Like that's when you're really adult and living your best life and really, you know, enjoying that time with your children, watching them grow up, doing all those things. So yeah, exactly like that quote said, there's no way to get that back. But I hope she gets a shit ton of money, and it sure as shit makes the rest of her life easy. Because then I think about too, like the fact that when you're in prison for 2 decades, ain't nobody comes out of prison in a physically or mentally better state, right? I mean, especially when you spend 2 decades there. And so it's just so, because she never should have been there in the fucking first place. Right. And so I hope she gets a shit ton of money. I hope we give an update on this case soon where it's like, and she was granted millions of dollars, and her children and their children are going to be able to
also pay these children back the money that they paid for the private investigators. Like, you know, like
so much just wrong in every sense. It's just like tragedy from the very beginning, from the tragic like accident. But like you said, 38 kids a year, and which is just so sad, but it is an accident. And yes,
and that number is just like Google search, right? I didn't do the deep dive into like what years and all that. So that is the base, like surface level.
Well, Google, and I guarantee you back then it might have been higher. Yeah. Because of nowadays, you know, they make those water, they make way more safety features on water heaters. But that is like, especially for babies, it like that is a thing, and it's tragic, and it's like so sad, and it's a mother's worst fucking nightmare, you know? Yep. For shit like that to happen. I mean, that's what literal like moms, even to this day, like my kids are, not babies anymore, but like postpartum anxiety, like that shit would get me like hard. Like, oh my God, did you check the water? Like, I'm sure I've screamed at Zach when we had babies, like, it's definitely one of those things, and it's tragic. And then for everything that occurred afterwards, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's like you see a light at the end of the tunnel, and then the tunnel just closes. But it opened. And that is another thing that I want to say that I'm so thankful for, and kind of give some sort of flowers to the fact that, yes, she was put on this 48-hour detainer, but looking at everything, we see all these horror stories right now, and knowing that could have been the same. They could have, the wrong person could have just gotten this and said, well, I don't fucking care. I don't give a shit, And luckily, whoever looked into it, looked at it with the good part of their brain to make this decision.
She had already been the victim of really shitty decisions being made. So, I mean, there shouldn't have ever been the hold in the first place. I mean, this is bullshit, like the judge said, but I am thankful that worked out the way that it needed to. And that, whoever decided that day was thinking smart.
Yep. I agree right there.
Yeah.
That is wild. I felt like I had one more thing I was going to say, but
were you going to apologize for bumming me out at 10 in the morning?
Yes. I am so sorry that I brought this.
But like you said, I want to, and we said we were going to do this at the beginning of the year, and we totally haven't. We need to focus on the positive.
Yeah.
First, we are educated. And then I hope all our listeners are, about the tragedies that can happen, about the injustices that occur, about amazing things like the Innocence Project. And we are now educated about that and know the full story and have that empathy. But we need to do I think it was our New Year's resolution this year, right? To start looking and pulling out the positive in this, that now a family gets to start celebrating together. I'm going to manifest that she gets a shit ton of money. Justice, for her was definitely an outcome. Came way too late, and that shit sucks. But we are happy that, it did have a happy ending, which a lot of our shit does not.
No,
right?
Definitely not. Yep.
It does not. So, thank you, Rachel. You don't have to apologize. I take that back.
I felt a little responsible for apologizing. I have not seen, I want to see like a family photo.
I know.
I saw a picture of her hugging her Innocence team.
Mm-hmm.
The people who worked on her case. And just that photo, I was like,
these Innocence Project ones, they get me. I have, we've talked about various Innocence Project stuff at various times, when I got into DNA stuff, also just women being exonerated from it. We've talked about, several times, and the work that they do is just top notch. So
it is. I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I love them. All right, let's talk some moms. Let's talk some mom talk before we get out of here, because we got a few more minutes. I'm actually surprised this is way longer than I expected.
It's because we couldn't stop crying.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, it would have been even longer no, the opposite. It's going to be shorter because this looks way longer because I had to start over 172 times.
Cut it down from all our sniffling
12-minute episode.
I know, right? Well, my biggest mom talk, as we know, is I'm getting ready for a family vacay.
Yeah, because you go to
And
Hawaii every year.
I I wish I went to Hawaii every year. This is actually the first time I've been to Hawaii in like 7 years. Literally haven't been back for like
Really?
7. Yes, because the
Gosh,
last
because
time
I knew about that one being canceled, but I still thought it was more recent than that.
Yeah, no, I was
Crazy.
pregnant with Evie.
Wow.
That was the
Okay.
last time I was there.
Dang.
But I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know I was pregnant with her. And we hiked to the top of Diamond Head, Zach and I.
Yes.
And I remember, just feeling like extra winded, which I mean, it's not saying a lot.
You're like,
but
this is normal.
I was in a little better shape back then. Like now I'd be like, oh, hell yeah, you were doing real good at like 2 months pregnant. But yeah, that's the last time I went. And I'm very excited to go back. I also, I really hope that the areas of Hawaii who are currently dealing with flooding. We're not going to the island that has been dealing with flooding, but hearts out to those communities. That's just really rough stuff. I feel like every year, Hawaii is getting hit with something. Yeah. Fire, floods. Yep. So a lot of just positive thoughts to that. Yeah. But we are getting ready. Today I managed to get all the outfits together for the girls. I'm a big believer when you go to like vacations or, more just areas you're less familiar with, areas your kids are less familiar with, in matching outfits, because it's easier for me to pick out my kids if they're wearing the same clothes. So that's
such a good, everyone take that note right there and match your kids, so that when you start trying to look around 1, 2, 3, that's easy.
It's easy.
Oh, what was my kid wearing?
What was so and so wearing? Yeah. Exactly. So I like the matching outfits. Luckily, Grandma and Lola contributed to our matching outfit pile for this trip. And we're on theme for Hawaii, which Evie loves because everything. She loves hibiscus flower, everything. So I'm excited. It should be fun. I'm a little nervous about traveling with kids for 6 hours on a plane, but yeah. Thank God for
devices.
iPads, right?
That's when, I was going to say, that's when we are pro-device. Put that down. You're only allowed to use that on a plane.
Like this
they just
morning,
want to fly every day.
This morning, we had like 5 minutes before we needed to walk to school. And Evie's like, oh, I'm going to go on the iPad. And I was like, no, why don't you just sit here, enjoy our time together? One of these days, Evie, you're just going to want to be able to sit with your mom. And she literally looked at me like I was crazy. And then I wrap her. Lady. I know, like she's like, you're crazy. And then I get her in a hug and I still feel her reaching behind me for the freaking iPad. I'm like, if you don't stop right now and just
That's so funny. Oh man, these damn kids, I swear. I don't have an update.
Life is your update.
I have a broken toe.
I think that's a pretty significant update. I really think
I've been working out a lot and I might have broke my toe.
The way you were like, it bends, but it's bit more than it normally is.
I was like, yeah, you guys, I literally was like, I got wonky. Like, I don't like feet, but I'm always like, I don't know, my toes are freaking from soccer cleats forever. I'm like, I don't know. I ain't got no one's gonna want my feet pics.
Hey. There's an audience for everything.
I know.
You name it, like cleat girl,
oh
69.
My gosh.
I don't know, and boom,
this is
there's
disturbing.
$100.
I'm gonna let you know if it comes down to that someday. God, it better not. But I have been going to the gym Monday through Friday, working my booty off.
Yeah, girl.
Also working out at home on the weekends when
yeah, girl.
I can. But I don't know what I did is the funny part. Like when we were talking about it, is there's not like how Megan said, like, did you stub your toe or something? I'm like, no, I don't know. Just all of a sudden it got worse and worse and worse and worse. But I don't remember the first part that was like, ouch. So I just looked down and I was like, my left foot is swollen. All of my toes are swollen. And that
Can you
toe
bend
next
it?
to my big toe just goes like this. throwing gang signs down there, my guy. Can I bend it?
Can you bend
Not
it?
really. No.
You know,
Yeah.
I have a toe. My
You have
pinky
toe?
toe.
I hope so. Uh-huh.
Well, I have 10 of them, but there's one in
Yeah.
particular that I can't remember. I mean, it's definitely since I was like like teenager at least, where I can't bend it. It's my pinky toe on my right side, and when I curl all my toes, I can't curl that one. Like I can't bend it.
Yeah.
And then I was telling someone this once, and they were like, "Well, because you broke it, right?" And I was like, I don't think so. Like, I don't remember breaking a toe ever. Like, I like, if people say, have you ever broken a bone? I say no. Like, I've never actually, knock on wood, I've never broken a bone. And they're like, you definitely broke that toe. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, if you can't bend it, like, you can't. And I can, like, move it, but no, it doesn't bend. And so I was like, oh, I just thought it was, like, maybe genetic or something.
That's just normal. That's my normal toes. Like, you guys, I don't know how our mom talk got to toe talk, but we need to be done with this. It was so funny too. Like in our group chat, there was like a point where I was taking a picture and was gonna send it and be like, "Look, it's broken," and I deleted that shit so fast. I was like, "Nobody needs to see these toes." Like,
she would have sent it.
Like, absolutely not.
Because you know, my ass would have immediately written
GMs
back
saying, "I want to see your broken toe."
I
block your ass.
I definitely would have like video photoed back with like, and look at my toes. Look at my toes.
That is so funny. All right, you guys, that is today's episode. If you guys come up on like just not knowing what to do with your money someday, if you're like, gosh, I'm just a baller and I have all this money and I just need to give it away, donate to the Innocence Project. I don't think Heather thought that's where it was going. I think she thought you guys were going to send me toe money. But no, donate to the Innocence Project.
Yes.
The work that they do there is so incredible, and they only need more help so that they could help more. Okay.
If any of you ever like think of being a lawyer, think of like working for the Innocence Project. I think that's what's hard is, you know, they need good people on their team who have the drive to, you know, do this and the legal know-how because, you know, law school.
Well, and if you're going to go that route, you know, make sure that when you guys are picking and choosing and weeding through who you want to take on, it's not Scott Peterson.
That fucker.
Next. With that said, we will talk to you guys next Tuesday. Kay, love you. Bye.
Kay, love you. Bye.
Let's speed up this bitch. Who talks this slow that it's like...
We talk fast.
I do talk fast. And then not only do we talk fast, I listen on like 100% speed, like constantly. So it's so funny that I'm just like, if someone doesn't talk to me like this, I don't even know how to listen to you anymore because you're too slow and you suck. Like, that's what it should be like. Okay. I'm okay. Sorry. I just want you to tell the story from now on.
I don't want to.
We're quitting this and doing a comedy podcast next year. Okay.